All right, say you're multiplying these two radical expressions. These are a little bit easier, or can be. Just multiply the numbers inside, right? 27 times 5 is 35, 10, 135. And then use your calculator, right? Or use this here. Try a 5, 7. So 27 times 5. And then 9 times 3. And then 3 times 3. We're looking for copies of 2. There's a 2 here. This is a square root, right? Square root. So there's 2.
Teachers, please dismiss
And keep
students from
this
the lunch at this time.
inside. So 3 radical 15 is your answer. Okay? So again, if you're multiplying, as long as they're the same, like these are both square roots, then you could just multiply the numbers inside the radicand inside, and then just simplify it down by doing your factor tree. Okay, what if you're given 2 times the cube root of 9 times 5 times the cube root of negative 24? Okay, make sure you underline your like terms. Those are both coefficients, the bigger number, so 2 times 5 is 10. Keep your same index. They both share the same index, so you can multiply the radicand. 24 times 9. 24 times 9. It's a negative, right? So put your negative. 4 times 9 is 36, 18, 19, 21, 216. Okay, so what times what gives you 216? Let's try some numbers. So 2 plus 1 is 3, 3 plus 6 is 9. So this can be divided by 3. So 216 divided by 3 is 72. But you should have your perfect squares. You should know that this is a perfect square. Try playing around with some numbers. 6 times 6 times 6 is 216. Okay? Know your perfect squares. This is a perfect cube, perfect cubed. 6 times 6 times 6 is 216. But if you want to do this, you can. 3 times 72, 8 times 9, 3 times 3, 2 times 4, 2 times 2. These 3, right, come out. These come out. It's a perfect square. 3 times 2 is 6. It's a negative. So a negative 6 times a negative 6 times a negative 6 is negative 216. So the negative 6 is your answer. So bring this 10 down. And then negative 6 is your perfect cubed root. So there's your answer. So show all your work, right? To go from 2 cube root of 9 times 5 cube root of negative 24. You do all this work by multiplying these two numbers, right? And you'll find the cube root of 216 is 6, and negative 6. Negative 6 times 10 is negative 60. That's your answer. Simplifying. So that's how you multiply. All right, let's go ahead and divide. Dividing is the same thing, right? It's just the opposite way. Oh, let's multiply binomials. Okay, we're gonna multiply binomial. What if you have 10, radical 10 times 5 radical 5 minus 2 radical 2? Well, you need to do your rows. So radical 10 times 5 radical 5, right? Then do this one as well. Minus radical 10 times 2 radical 2, right? Multiplying. So multiply these two because they're in the radical. So that's 50 This 5 is outside. Bring down your minus. Inside the radical, 10 times 2 is 20. The coefficient, bring that in front. So now, multiply 5 times 2. Well, no, you can't do that. So 5 radical 50 minus 2 radical 20. You need to do some math here. 25 times 2, 5 times 5. Looking for perfect copies to bring out. This is a 2, a square. So here's a copy. Bring that copy out. Bring this 5 down. Bring this copy out as 1 number. Keep the 2 inside. Bring your minus down. You could put parentheses, might help you. Okay, let's do this one over here. 10 times 2, 5 times 2. Copy. Bring this down. Bring your copy out as 1. Keep this 5 inside. 5 times 5 is 25. Radical 2 minus 4. Radical 5. Yep, that's the answer. There we go. Okay, that's how you do that problem. Okay, so it's a lot, but just do your distribution. Distribute this radical. 10 times 5 is radical 50. Keep the 5 in front. 10 times 2, because these are both in the radical, is 20. Inside the radical, bring that 2. You can't subtract these because they're different radicals. So you have to do some factoring to simplify it, like break it out more. We found that 25 times 2 is 50. 5 times 5 is 25. These 5s come out as 1. Bring down this 5. 5 times 5 is 25. Keep this 2 inside. And same thing over here. You cannot subtract these two expressions. 25 radical 2 minus 4 radical 5 cannot be subtracted from each other because they have different radicals here. Okay? So that's how you multiply when you have binomials. Let's go ahead and do some dividing next. Okay, say dividing. Say you're given 12 times radical 160 divided by 2 radical 5. 12 divided by 2, which is 6. And then 160 divided by 5, just do your math. 5 goes into 160. 2, 3, 15, 1, 0, 2, 32. 32 times 5 is 160. So, radical 32. Gotta break it down. Look at that, we found copies. Radical, it's a square root, so looking for 2 copies. Bring them out as 1 and keep your 2 inside. Bring out the copies as 1, bring down your 6, keep your 2 inside. 24 radical 2. So 12 times radical 160 divided by 2 times radical 5 can be simplified as 24 radical 2. And why is that? 12 divided by 2 is 6. 160 divided by 5, use your calculations, either one. 160 divided by 5 is 32. So 6 times radical 32. Do your tree and make sure you times it by that 6, and there's your simplified radical expression. So that's how you divide. radicals. Let's try a binomial. So what if you're given 4 divided by 4 plus radical 2? 4 divided by 4 plus radical 2. Well, you want to get rid of this radical. In order to do that, you have to multiply top and bottom by the conjugate. Just remember it. I know it sounds crazy, but multiply the top and bottom by the conjugate, because it will end up getting rid of this radical. That's why. You'll see why right now. Okay, so 4 times 4 is 16. And then 4 times this radical 2, well, bring your minus, is just 4 radical 2. 4 times radical 2 is 4 radical 2. 4 times radical 2. It's the same thing. Okay, and then let's do the bottom. 4 times 4 is 16. 4 times this, bring your minus. Again, 4 times radical 2. Just write it how you see it. Radical 2 times 4 is 4 radical 2. And then this one times this one, a radical 2 times a radical 2. Don't forget your minus. Radical 2 times radical 2 is a radical 4. Okay, so that ends up crossing these out. Negative 4 radical 2 plus 4 radical 2 ends up canceling out. That was the point of doing the conjugate, when you multiply by the conjugate. So 16 minus 4 radical 2, and then you have 16 minus 2. Radical 4 is 2. 16 minus 2 is 14. Okay, you can divide everything by 2. Look at your common factor here. 16 divided by 2 gives you 8. 4 divided by 2 gives you 2. Keep your radical 2, that doesn't change. 14 divided by 2 is 7. So, 4 divided by 4 plus radical 2 can be simplified as 8 minus 2. Radical 2 divided by 7. How did we get there? We multiplied the numerator and the denominator, top and the bottom, by the conjugate, the opposite. And then that will end up getting rid of this radical. That's the whole point of doing that. When you 4 times 4 is 16, 4 times this is this times this is this times this is this. These will cancel out when you add them together. Radical 4 is 2. Don't forget about your minus signs. 16 minus 2 is 14. This stays up here. You can't add or subtract these expressions because this is a radical. This is a number. Divide by 2, so you can simplify that out some more, and there's your final simplified radical expression. So that's how you add, subtract, multiply, and divide.